All right, so what did you bring?
Okay, man. Well, I've seen your podcast. I know you guys always like to sip on some beer, but I don't want to get a bloated belly for the drive home or nothing. And if we make it there, I don't know. This is some Japanese whiskey. Usually I go for the Suntory is my favorite, but this is the Nigro whiskey, and it's a little more expensive, but as you got a little tester, super super smooth, just the right temperature with a couple cubes of ice. This is dangerous over some conversation, so I thought it was fitting.
Yeah, I don't really have too many comparisons for smooth versus not smooth, but if what you mean is it's easy to drink, then I agree. It's easy to drink. And also, beer sucks on a podcast. We shouldn't do it anymore. Joe Rogan doesn't do it. We shouldn't do it.
It's a lot of gas.
Oh, dude, you're just like, you got to let one out over there off the mic, and these mics pick up a lot now that I realized I had them backwards. And now
I guess you don't want to have much editing either in a podcast. You kind of just want it free-flowing.
So I made mistakes in the last one, and Jack and I were trying to find it, and I said, just post it. And then I found it around 29 minutes in the last one, and I said, whatever, man. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter. We lost topic or something happened, and I was like, oh, we should edit that out. Screw it. Like, it doesn't matter. Whatever we talk about is it's just going to be posted.
I feel like since I met up with you today, even before we came into the room and everything, we already started our podcast. So thanks for having me again.
Cheers, yeah.
We didn't even introduce me or nothing. Like,
we did. Okay, so relax.
Okay, I'm relaxing. Don't worry.
This is my good friend Paul. He's owner of Grassroots. He does a lot of little businesses on the side, but I'm actually going to let you do most of the talking. So this starts with the first question.
Okay.
Normally I ask, who are you? What do you do? But it's better if I say, could you narrate a highlight reel of yourself?
Oh.
And then it gives you the freedom to boast and to brag and I want you to do all those things.
Wow.
I'm the best.
I wish I could have been way more prepared. I would have done a whole backstory.
I can keep talking if you want to just think while I'm talking.
I've already thought of it. 32 years old. 32 years in the making. Like Josiah said, we've been friends for many years now. We raced together before we did any business together, and then I guess we both kind of caught each other's eye on the up and up of the racing side. And I had started a company called Grassroots Performance. We sell oil coolers. It's our main bread and butter, heat exchangers, lines, fittings, all that good stuff. But Josiah was always in the fabrication side, seeing him making cool things, always picking his brain back and forth. So we eventually became homies. And then when he was actually, when you wanted to get serious with FTF, you asked me for a lending hand on the website. And then since then, this guy put it in sixth gear and was gone. So, I mean, it's awesome to see your homies move up, especially with a similar business. We both got online stores. We both went through the struggles of the startup, investing your own money, taking those risks. Like, I remember Josiah would ask me, he's like, how did you do this? I'm just like, I don't know, I just did it. Then not long later, he'd be calling me saying, Paul, I'm about to do this, man. What do you think? I'm like, yeah, bro. And now he's killing it. So that's kind of how I started, was with the online business, was through selling oil coolers. And now I've actually, since 2016, been importing cars from Japan privately, and then one thing led to another. Word of mouth, people started calling me up. So I've been doing that. I opened a company called Nakama Imports. So now I'm a car importer from Japan. So I don't really hold a lot of inventory. It's more, if you want a car, I'll find it. I'll get you all the info in it. I have people over there who are in the auctions, private sales. All my logistics is all figured out since I've been doing it for this time. So the importing game is a big, important aspect of both my businesses. But yeah, importing parts, importing cars, racing them in between. Similar to what you do, just I guess on a side shift, right?
Yeah, it's definitely different. So you said that you love seeing your homies do well and grow and achieve the things that they want to and beyond. It's kind of interesting that there are definitely people in your life that may give you a sense of they want you to succeed, but they actually don't.
Well, that's in not just in a successful person's life, even in not successful people's life, people that you're surrounded by, could be wearing a mask or telling you one thing but not really wanting you to have that one thing, and you can be successful and you can have everything you want, but like the biggest flex is being happy while you do it, right? So I mean, like, someone could say they're happy for you, but they're not actually a happy person. Does that really mean anything? Like, coming from that person, try not to let it affect.
Have you had to remove people from your life that you felt?
It's funny you say that, because I was always where, like, I'll start somebody at 0, or sorry, I'll start somebody at 10, and like, I give them the benefit of the doubt for everything.
Yeah.
That's how I was before, like, starting Grassroots. Start them at a 10. Every time something happens or a situation, I learn more about them. They either stay at that level or they kind of reduce themselves to someone I wouldn't necessarily associate myself with. But now, when I meet new people and new things, I kind of start them at a lower playing field. And then if they prove that through more than words they have what it takes, then I'll probably take the next step and see. Because a lot of people can talk, but I mean, when it comes to walking the walk.
So through experience, I could say the same thing. I used to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and you have them, you believe everything they say they're going to do certain things, and you assume it's going to be done, but then we all know what assuming does. And then in business, it's really difficult, because when you think of how you think and how I think, I know other people don't think that way. So when you think that, before we got into how much stress we've had to deal with to get here, how many things we've had to overcome, and you put that into a perspective where the person you might be talking to has not been through any of those things.
Exactly.
You can't possibly, so in today, like us today, we can't possibly think of that person being able to handle this situation that they're saying they're going to do.
Exactly.
It could be building a car, and I know how difficult building a car is. 7 months, full shop, access to every single piece of equipment you could possibly think of.
We see it happening, trust me. Everybody sees it.
And then you think someone says they're going to do the same thing, or they want to do the same thing. And I'm not going to shoot them down and say you can't.
Of course.
I just know from my perspective, it's very difficult. And
100%. It's funny that you're going down those lines, because you actually said something to me many years ago. You came by my place. I don't know what you're doing in Toronto. Anyways, you stopped in. We're shooting the shit, and you said to me, you just met all these bunch of new people, and you're like, Paul, like, for some reason, I'm meeting all these new people, starting this new business, everything, but I can almost categorize the people I'm meeting. You said, like, I meet this guy, and I met 10 other guys like him in my life already. I meet this next guy, and I've met half a dozen other guys just like him. And it's the people that you can't categorize that you end up coming full circle and working with and progressing with. So when you told me that, I'm like, that's an awesome way of looking at it. And it's not a bad thing. Some people, they stay in their lane and they hit the gas in that lane. But other people like us, we're shifting lanes, we're exiting, coming back on at different
ramp,
times,
off
right?
Ramp. Yeah.
So it's an interesting way to look at it. But yeah, you got to give people a chance that you think deserve it, because a lot of people who have what it takes aren't given the opportunity, and it takes nothing. Like I see guys working for you that, I've seen around, and now seeing what they're doing is awesome, right? Seeing guys progress in your shop, and the same thing at my place too. I have customers that have come around and I thought, okay, this guy's a one-timer, buying an oil cooler, he's in and out. Then he'll call back just for some suggestions, you give them some time, and then, a year later you see them coming up, either like in the drift world or the time attack world, and this guy's pushing, making a name. You want to help them even more. So when your friends are doing it and they stick around, it's like kind of anything goes. Whatever you need, like, I'm there.
It takes a while to get to that position with people as well. Like, we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
I feel like with how much we value our time, I can pretty much determine someone if I'm going to give them my time now. And I mean, we've gotten to a selfish point, which is at the same time a healthy point. But I can't, like I saw you guys at FD, I cannot even explain how incredible going to that event was as a spectator. I've never been. We only saw each other for a little bit, and then I don't look at my phone for 8 hours. I don't know where you are. I wish that we were just more active with that, because
we're both. It's funny because
so busy.
I went to that event, obviously same reason as you. We weren't competing or nothing, but we're networking. We both have drivers running our parts. We both have general interest, not just from our passion, but through our business. So like, it's always a split decision for myself, making a choice to like, okay, we're going out there, we're bringing the team, we're bringing the cars, but it's always a good time, which is like something that I find myself getting a lot of. But then there's those extreme highs and then those extreme lows, because it's now my passion, just like your passion, driving, being an entrepreneur, doing all this stuff. Like let me ask you this: you're running FDF, okay? You've done it. You've accomplished where you want to be. You're leaving FDF tomorrow. What are you gonna do? Like, what are you doing after FDF?
So yeah, I mean, my exit to FDF, if I had to do it, I mean, I love the job that I'm doing. I love working there. I love being with all my guys. I consider my employees as my friends.
I'm just saying this as a big thing.
So let's say I had to. Let's say there's something that happened and I need to make my exit. I would probably just try to leverage all of the experience that I've gotten from FDF and apply it to some sort of a new business, because I cannot sit still and I cannot have idle hands, because idle hands, exactly. Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do nothing. This house is great where me and my kids live, but I don't spend much time here. I just sleep here. And I've also heard with guys like us, you really, like, I don't remember. I think I tried to watch Netflix last night, which would have been the first time in like 3 to 4 months. And then before that, I just don't watch TV. My TV never turns on. And I couldn't be happier. Like, I don't like turning on my TV. I don't like watching stuff. I hate sitting. I can't play video games. I try to make the excuse for Assetto Corsa and get some sim time. But honestly, I would take everything that I've learned. I've learned everything I feel the hard way, just like you have. And man, we've talked about it. I've went through the shipping. We went through the shipping dilemmas and problems together. Being in Canada, it's been impossible to get a sustainable method of shipping that is seamless, like it would be in the U.S.
And the thing is, what you just said, your last comment there, as a U.S., like a lot of our customers or client base don't realize those hurdles we had to get over, because a lot of stuff is, even if it's in stock, they're getting it within a few days. For us, if it's not in stock, it's probably not going to be a few days. Like, no. They can replenish. What I'm trying to get is they can replenish their inventory much quicker and efficiently than if we're making our own product and rely on certain components, right? Like, we can have a full kit ready to go, but it's missing one adapter or some hardware. It's not a full kit. And
people don't understand.
That's what I'm saying, right? They want it now, today, yesterday. And it's
people don't understand the manufacturing process, like to take a sheet of metal and turn it into...
I freaking barely understand. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, there's so many working parts to it, and then to keep a level, like, you got a super high consistency rate of quality, and it's awesome to see, like, your team, it's going through their hands individually, and they're guys that care about it, right? And you have a lot of steps and processes in your shop. So to see that being done here is like I said it to you earlier before this, like, it's motivating. I see some of your kind of strategies in your warehouse, implement them in mine, just like you saw some of my strategies on the business side and did your thing with it. But
dude, I feel like I could sell my part numbering system to other automotive companies, because we had to create a part numbering system that had logic and made sense.
I saw you have like 700 part numbers more now.
Yeah, but it's the logic behind how does this part number identify a part. So we had to come up with something that identifies the chassis. We had to come up with something that identifies the location on the chassis. Then we had to come up with an individual number for the part. And it's like, how do I make something that makes sense? So my engineer and I spent so much time on it, and we came up with a system that has a sequence of 3 numbers, 2 numbers, and 3 numbers that we've cross-referenced and tried to dismantle, but it has held true with everything. So every part that we ever create from now on will be an individually identified piece, and it took a lot of brain power.
But those are the small wins. Well, that's a big win, but in retrospect of things, that's a small win that goes a long way. Like, when you're finding a solution to a problem that's an everyday occurrence, it's like it's a big feeling, like knowing that you did that. And for us, we have a fraction of the SKUs that you have, so our labeling system is super simple compared to like I said, just walking through your warehouse, I see yours, and I get overwhelmed. Like, we're kind of both the guys that when we walk through, we're overseeing stuff, but numbers in my head only go so far, you know what I'm trying to say? So
yeah.
you need that system in
So
place.
it gives me a sense of appreciation when I go on a website like, let's say, a huge one like Summit Racing or Amazon or something, and you see, let's say I'm ordering a part number that All-Star Performance makes, and it says all-2597-11.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm thinking to myself, they went through what I just went through
We
years
always
ago.
look at
years
it like
ago.
that, 100%.
And I'm like, man, like my Corvette C6 and C5 steering rack braces have the part number laser etched on them now, and that
Sick.
for me is like
That's
this is the turning point.
That's sick.
This is the you've finally achieved a real manufacturing facility, because I never felt like we could ever be there with barcode packaging and like the inventory system tracks itself, and like you think of an Amazon warehouse, you think of computers finding the product that you've just bought and it bringing it to the door and it sending it. That is what happens, and I'm like, how can we ever get there?
Yeah,
but we're getting there. We have part numbers.
No, it's freaking awesome to see.
It's blowing my mind that we've done this, and that
cool.
we created the logic from scratch. Like, we had to, dude. I wish that I should have involved you, but you can have my part numbering system, and
send
it'll work. It'll work perfectly for your company.
So we just hired a new, I'm gonna call him parts manager. He's doing all the stuff that I was doing inside the warehouse, as far as like inventorying, ordering new stuff. I've kind of trying to train him in that responsibility, but he's asked me, and he's like, Paul, listen, what you have going on now, we got to change it. And I'm like, let's change it. But we still have it, like you just said, it took you how long? 2 years to finally figure out that perfect kind of numbering system?
No, I mean, we've been trying to figure out an organization system ever since I started. But each kid
When did FDF start? What year did you?
Like, we became incorporated 2018.
Okay.
I started on weekends building roll cages 2015. Yeah. So, like, I wasn't a sole proprietor or incorporated. I was just by myself on weekends, still working full-time somewhere else.
So that's for the young age of FDF. Like, you guys are definitely
5 years incorporated.
Swinging. I can tell you that. You got to sip that because you're losing all the flavor to the ice.
Oh, you're right.
I explained it to you. So good at numbering, you can't listen to the simple whiskey instructions, you know? This is good whiskey. Don't let it go to waste.
So I just said kind of what my TSN turning point is. I mean, I think we could pick up what multiple ones are.
Yeah.
In the sense that, for me, I feel like we're finally a real manufacturing facility now that we have 100%. Part numbers. But I think what I would have rather referred to as TSN turning point would have been, when did I make the decision to do this?
Yeah.
And how did I arrive at that decision? And what made me make the leap to going against what everyone close to me said when I wanted to move shop to my own place in Trenton, and I said I was going to do it. It was $1,000 a month for 2,000 square feet.
And that's a smoking deal already.
Dude, this was, like back then it was 5 years ago. That was kind of normal.
Yeah.
Like, it was a good deal, but it was like $1,200, $1,400.
But
that was
even
common.
still, to make the jump and even look for a spot, like, it takes a lot, because a lot people don't get, once you do that, there's no going back. It's like I remember signing a 1-year lease for my shop the very first year, and it's like the first couple of months I'm like, oh, I got this. Look at this, mid sale here. So a month's already paid for, 6-8 months. Then you get a little slump.
Completely different.
You get a little slump, and you're like, oh shit, was I spending too much on that? Like, then you get scared. Then you get another wave. It's like a whirlwind of
So people
emotion.
don't think of, when you're generating your own income, what amount of stress that puts on a person. That means you are creating your own opportunities, and that sounds great, and people love, like, lucky you.
Yeah.
It must be nice, but man.
That used to upset me when people would say that, because it was always followed with, like, or it was with a tone where we're all in the same place right now, and I'm saying, lucky you. Are you lucky? Because you're still racing with me at the same event. So how much more lucky am I? I got all this stress. I'm taking a risk. people are talking smack. Like, you know what I mean? Everything's falling down on you, but you still got to show up and still give it 10 out of 10, right? So I used to get upset when people would say that, but then, like I said, the biggest flex was just happiness. If you're happy doing it, yeah, you know what? I am lucky.
So what was your TSN turning point?
For Grassroots, I think the TSN turning point was figuring out the product that I had some sort of passion with and that I felt was a need for like the motorsport community. I wanted to have a business in the automotive industry. My passion is racing. Like I just want to go fast all the time. Mm-hmm. And I do this business so that I can go fast the majority of the time. But I think it was when I finally zeroed in on oil cooling, heat exchangers, and making these kits for the most common cars. Like you go out there, you could have a dope angle kit, you could have full suit gear ready to go, and then on your fifth lap, you overheat. What are you going to do? You got to stop. You literally have to stop going fast. So I think once I zeroed in on the cooling aspect, and although it doesn't give horsepower, your car still needs it, and people still enjoy buying it. People buy my product and they smile when they're paying for it. So that makes me feel good. So I think the turning point was finding a product that made me feel good selling, and that I knew I actually had something real that I could grow with. I can make better. As I better myself, as I better my business, I can better the product and grow with the racing community, right? So I think that was kind of when I realized I had something potentially bigger than myself at the time.
So did you ever reach a threshold where, because I have reached a threshold in my company, and I'll give you an example. I started the company and started doing things because I was very good at welding. So I loved welding. And I became popular on Instagram because I made nice things with good welds, and I would tag TIG aesthetics, and people would share it and show them off and whatever. Then I would teach CNC machining at Loyalist College, our local college, and I was using CNC machines to make my products. And I was doing all of these things, but now I do none of these things. So I reached the threshold of where I answer phone calls and I do emails. I actually was the best at everything and now don't do anything. So have you reached a point where you were passionate about it, that's why you started, but now you're not even doing it? Like racing, for example.
I'm not going to lie. Okay, racing, we'll get into that in a minute because that's a whole conversation. But on the business side, I'm not going to lie. I loved, man, waking up, having orders on Shopify, going into the shop and packaging every order myself. Like, I remember the days I would see a photo of a Grassroots cooler, and I know no matter who bought it, US, Canada, Japan, anywhere it was going, I physically touched that kit, and like I physically quality checked it, assembled the lines, did what I had to do to get it out. And now it's like I don't remember the last time you asked for some parts. I didn't even package the parts that we brought. So like I hope everything is right in there. But like that to me was such a fulfilling moment in the Grassroots story, and it happened for years, man. I was doing that for years, and now that I don't do it anymore, I think that was the threshold where it's like, okay, if I'm not doing that, what can I be? What am I doing then? Like, how am I making this company better? Mm-hmm. And the R&D side of it is real tricky, and I'm still dealing with all kind of the, like you are, when people call and have problems and they need to talk to, they want to talk to someone.
You're running the show.
If someone doesn't have the answers, you have to take the call. Or if someone doesn't know the next steps or appropriate steps to take after a situation, you have to be that one to do it. So not that that's a hard job, but it has to be done. And I just feel like the threshold was stepping into that position, because now it's like adult life, it's not just like, this guy's buying my parts and ship it. Now it's like, okay, this come up, I gotta figure this out, but before I do that, this has to be ready. Like,
so I used to make the angle kits and used to weld stuff and ship the things, and I mean, I don't do that at all anymore. It's safe to say that the two welders that I have, they can confidently say that anyone that's running the products today, they can look at their pictures and say the same thing that we did. It's not the same. 100%. It's not the same, but they do. I'm happy to say that all my employees take pride in what they do, and that's why they work there. So they are also proud of that. But it's really difficult to accept that I don't really know how to run my own CNC machines anymore. The CNC
I'm sure
machines,
you could if you had to.
Yeah, if I had to. The CNC machines with I never used probes to locate the origin of the part. I always used like edge finders and stuff.
Okay.
So Dylan, we've bought probe systems for all the machines, so they find it themselves basically with a code. And I don't know how to do this stuff, but I own all the stuff that does the stuff, and it's like it's really weird, and I don't really like it. We're actively trying to get me away from emails and get me away from.
And back on the.
But then this is the thing: I didn't expect the company to grow at the rate and the size that it is, so I didn't have the proper implications for how to, sell a product.
Yeah.
There's so many steps that you needed to have in place for making sure that the customer service side of it is taken care of by somebody else.
Customer service is the toughest part, man. I feel sometimes that I'm spinning tires because you answer one question, then it's followed up with another question. Then they need another. It's hard to communicate with so many different types of personalities as our customers are, and then even being a people person, you only want the best for them. We're trying to make their driving experience better. So,
yes.
So sometimes you get a heated customer who just went for a rip and something happened, and you got to kind of deal with that. Or you got a customer who doesn't know what they're doing and probably shouldn't be working on their car.
Definitely
and calling you up saying, hey, this just happened. And the first thing you say is, well, did you have it professionally installed? No, I did it in my driveway, which is fine. We're Grassroots. I want everybody to know how to wrench, but the customer service is real tough just because there's so many different people out there that have different levels of understanding of kind of not only the business but mechanically on the cars. So it's huge, man.
Yeah, so that's
so deep.
Customer service is probably the biggest and most difficult animal to tackle is the aftercare. When you sell a product and your margin is $87, you're helping this customer. The second you help them once, your margins are halved.
And it's like,
the second you help them again, you just made $30 instead of 87, and now there was no point in selling.
and I still get you made a comment today. Which email should I send this to? Because I have we have info at Paul at there's so many different emails, but they all still eventually get to me. I see all of them. So I'll be on a Sunday afternoon, or I'll be at the track trying to do my own thing. And I'll get a text, and it's or an email notification, and I know it's somebody writing about work, and whether it's good or bad, I'm not at work, but because it's my company, I'm still at work. So it's hard to distance yourself from that, and that's what I was going to follow up with. You're racing now, at a competitive level where your business and reputation kind of goes hand in hand. How would you consider your driving experience versus driving pleasure now? Every time you go out, are you still getting the same exact amount of pleasure as you were when me and you were just letting it hang at an open drift day?
Yeah. So I thoroughly enjoy competing more than just regular drifting. I do enjoy drifting for fun with the homies and with cars that aren't costing me $300 a lap to run.
Yeah.
But there's something about competing. I've always been competitive in individual sports and in team sports, and I always played sports, and I'm just after it all the time. So that feeling that you get waiting on the line for your qualifier run or your battle, the adrenaline, the blood flow,
of course,
the warm hands, the warm feet ready to push the pedals and steer the wheel and do all the things, I absolutely love that. And I perform, it's crazy how much better I perform under pressure,
of course,
than when I do. I know some people are reverse. Some people don't perform; they perform a lot worse. But when something needs to be done, I will be the best when the pressure's on.
Of course.
So I just enjoy it, and more and more and more, I'm enjoying it infinitely.
Well, you have your FDF track days too at Shannonville, so you have some decent opportunity to get out there and just throw down some laps with no.
And I did that last time just in my 350Z.
Nice. I saw that thing. You just have that thing kicked back there, man.
It's
funny. We used to put those chassis on a pedestal, and now they're literally I hate to say it, but like they're like a new version of the S chassis for drifters out there.
Oh yeah, they are. 2003 to 2008. They're pretty old now.
My best selling product to this since inception of Grassroots to this day is the Z and G kit.
It's the same. It's the best selling products for us still. Sweet. Like Corvettes are close second. BMWs are coming.
C5 or C6?
Both. We categorize them in the same. A lot of the parts are the same.
So I got the C5 street car. You got the C6 street car.
Mm-hmm.
And you hooked me up with a few parts on the C5 already. But I remember, so I have the C5 as a side in my mind. I haven't even said this out loud to anybody, but it's my side project for street race cars. So I'm building the Time Attack 370Z, as you know. But the C5, I just kind of wanted to build something on the side that I can take to the track, throw down some laps, but still have a cruiser if I just wanted to take the top off and have a vert, right? So I remember you actually, before drifting, were in Time Attack. Is that correct? Didn't you do Time Attack events before drifting events?
Not really. I've done the lapping days. I've always liked doing the lapping days.
I don't know why I vaguely remember you and me when we first started drifting.
I built a lot of stuff for a lot of Time Attack guys.
Maybe that's
I was doing a lot of cages, wing brackets, diffusers.
Okay, so
splitters.
Mosport, better known as now Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Mosport, 10-lap battle. You versus me for pink slips. What car are you taking?
Well, if it's unlimited,
you have to. Okay, these are the rules. You have to buy it and build it. So it is unlimited, I guess.
Yeah, the smartest thing for me would be, I mean, are we using our own products or what are we using?
This is, okay, it's me versus you, Mosport, 10-lap battle. We can use each other's parts. We can buy any other parts. Do you want to put a budget on it?
It's got to be a street legal vehicle.
Okay,
because
fine.
we can't just go F1 car. And
No. Street legal car.
Yeah.
You versus me.
So given what I have learned from developing my C6, and we just finished making a full bushing replacement kit for all the bushings on the Corvette, which would fit your C5.
So I'll take one of those.
All uniball bearings,
I'll get one of those.
press-in housings.
I'll take it.
Because the Corvettes are notorious for, you see them on drag cars and you see them under braking, those bushings deflect a ton, and it changes your alignment, it affects how the car handles, scrubs and like the slip angle of the tire goes out, and the car's capabilities are severely limited by the bushings.
Okay.
I would probably choose a C7 because I saw the adaptions from the C6 and what they improved when I 3D scanned Tommy Lemaire's C7. And I saw everything that they did, and I weighed the subframes because I had both subframes. And there's something called generative design, which is it's like an AI designed software where they take the most efficient way possible to build something given the loads are specified.
That's crazy, man.
And it creates it for you in an organic way. So where you have a C6 subframe, kind of looks square and notchy and bulky, and it's thick aluminum, it's high quality, and it's strong, but it's all straight lines and edges. And when you look at the C7, it looks like the roots of a tree. It's grown. Like it looks like tendons and muscle fibers in your body. That's because organically, that shape and size is hard. You can't create it. It's too difficult to create. But you think of how your tendon connects to your arm, and it's got like these little roots that come out, and it spreads out at the base, but then it goes thin again, and then at the other base it spreads out, and it looks like
the first time. Not to interrupt, but this isn't your first time where you compare car parts to body parts. I'm not just
right. Yeah.
So many times you've done that to me, Paul. Imagine your leg is flexing like this.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's this guy going on about?
It's mechanical stuff. So I noticed that the C7 had generative technology being used everywhere, and I weighed my C6 subframe versus the C7 subframe, and it was, I'd have to remember exactly, I think it was like 38 pounds and like 28 pounds. I think it was about 10 pounds lighter. Wow. But it's all the same mounting points, it's all the same things. You can just tell the way technology went, and then I just think that I could do a lot with that chassis. It's much lighter. It's like 40 something percent more rigid.
So 10-lap battle, you got a C7 modified
that I'm building. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna show up with GTR R35, and I'll probably just throw some bolt-ons on it, make 1,000 horsepower, and dust your fucking C7.
Yeah. On a track. So a GTR I know pretty well. I 3D scanned all the suspension on it. Suspension's no comparison between the chassis.
You're saying GTR versus C7, you're still going with the C7?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The GTR has the same rear suspension as the 350. The toe arm's longer and the traction arm's longer, and that's about it. Because I have adjustable arms for the GTR.
For the R35?
R35.
They're on your website?
Yes.
Sick.
Yeah, and we sold them to Blake Trickey, a couple guys in Japan. They're running the adjustable rear arms. But
I
the problem...
got Blake a rad, actually.
So the problem I have with that chassis, the all-wheel drive is going to be a significant advantage in multiple locations.
Well, of course.
But the weight balance, and if the car was built right with the proper aero.
Okay.
So aero would be the key.
Aero is huge. So we're building that 370Z time attack car, and we have a 6-liter supercharged LS for the first season. But the aero side of things is twice the size budget that I had for the engine. Like the aero is costing me double the price of our engine setup. And again, our engine setup is nothing new. Like it's a LS with a supercharger. Like people do that every day. But the aero and wide body, and I've never spent money on body work. Like you have a drift car, you have a sweet livery, maybe some overfend, but it's kind of a no-brainer. With aero, a lot of R&D is going into that stuff. So the GTR all-wheel drive twin turbo with aero, I'm still saying it's going to take your C7, man.
So the reason I say the C7 would probably win is because Ferris or Ferros, I don't know how you say his name. The unlimited
time attack,
The unlimited C6 is beating everybody right now. It's twin turbo LS C6 with a ton of aero. Yeah. And the car is very light, and he threw the biggest tire at it, and he's winning by 3 to 4 seconds, breaking the all-time records.
I know, I've seen that.
Not just beating the guys. He's every record that's ever been set.
But now we're talking the difference driver mod, you versus me, right? So I'm cranking driver mod all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
Your driver mod's already stuck cranked, so we just have to see where that lays down.
Yeah, I mean, in time attack, you have more experience than I do, so that's gonna play an advantage in your court. You remember the Ultimate Fighter, that show?
Of course, yeah.
When they would just weigh them and they would try to just argue their advantages, like my sword's better than yours, and it's like they cut stuff, and if your sword cuts better, they give it a better rating.
Yeah,
they just like cut dummies' heads off, and they're like, my sword is this much sharper, so I have a 1-point advantage.
That would be a fun race, though, man. If we had the budgets and time, I would.
Yeah, because then we would have different advantages. Like it would be a really cool show. Actually,
it would be sick.
We would have to do a reaction test.
Yeah,
and then they would give either one of us an advantage based on reaction, because it wouldn't just be because you have more experience, so you will get an advantage.
But okay, so we can change the rules a little bit. So how about let's make this realistic. So I have a full time attack 370Z. You have 2 pro cars. So you time attacking my Z, would you do better than me drifting your S14? That would be a competition because you got more experience in a drift realm, right?
So your argument is that
a better competition of driver mod would be you taking my time attack car.
So you're going to see if I can drive your time attack car better than you can drive my S14.
Yes. That would be a more realistic show to film, or else we have to build a GTR and a C7.
I think that...
that's actually doable.
I think that it would be dead even. I think that... So? Yep. I think that the way that I built my S14 makes it easy to drive. You would drive it and you'd be like, this thing is a Cadillac of drift cars.
Sick.
Like it's so easy to drive. Now, if I'm scoring a 95, 96 point run in a qualifying session, like you won't be able to do that with my car. You just won't be able to do it. Like
you finessed it.
Well, I've like just recently. So 3 years ago, I was a high 70s, low 80s point qualifier. Last year, I was a high 80s, low 90s. Now I'm 93 is like my lowest qualifying score this year.
Smoking.
So 93, 95, 96. 90 whatever, that's what I'm getting now. That's with my ability to put a car into a zone and keep the car into the zone. It's a very difficult thing to do, but for me now it's natural. So I don't know that you would be able to master that very quickly, but you might. The car is easy to drive. It takes a balance of left footing and handbraking and throttle modulation. But the problem with that car is they'll give you a bad score if they hear your throttle modulate. So a lot of people are modulators. For me, I have to keep it pinned and I have to control it with the clutch. I'll even slip the clutch.
Oh, really, eh?
I'll do it all. Slipping clutch, braking, through transitions. Sick. You'll hear and you'll see the slightest clutch slip to get past the transition or to get past the inner clip, and then transition quickly. All I'm doing is a little clutch slip while pinned. So these tactics take a long time to.
So I've been drifting a long time, man. I started in wheel-to-wheel racing.
You've been drifting longer than I have.
But I was wheel-to-wheel racing before drifting. When I was competitively karting from single digits. Like I was competitively karting at a young age, but then kind of evolved into drifting and then went back to wheel-to-wheel time attack. So it's funny because now left foot braking and even at one time, like I still had a dual caliper setup on one of my time attack cars, and I'd find myself, if I let off on a certain turn, the body roll and shift versus I'm staying pinned and I just drag the e-brake a little bit.
Is this a front wheel drive?
This was this was inner rear wheel drive, but you're not locking it up.
No,
I'm trying to say these small techniques and things from drifting to wheel all make you a better driver. That's why I'm saying it would be a fun thing.
So I think I'd probably be learning more getting in your road race car if this was a wheel-to-wheel race or if it was just a strictly time, because then we have to break down how well you're going to qualify in a competition, how well you're qualified, but then how well are you going to tandem battle with somebody?
Of course.
So tandem battle has just been another aspect of
it's huge, yeah.
appreciation, where transition timing, anticipating, and when you park a car next to someone and you think you're close and then you go outside and you look and you're still 3 feet away,
I know
what it actually looks like to be on someone's door and to be leaving a mark is so much closer than you think you are.
Or feel.
So now I'm at the point I can sweep your bumper off your car, and I've done it multiple times not by accident, but every time I transition almost.
I'm like, drop behind.
No, I almost am tense on our transitions because I'm like, I will take your bumper or mine off on this transition, and I'll do it 3 times in a row. And it's like, that has taken a long time.
But that's what makes you at the top of your game, man. Like, people who aren't doing that, if there's no, like, you go after the gap, you go after the bumper. That's what drifting requires. So you're doing what's required for sure, man.
Yeah, so to be fair, I think that you're a very adaptive driver. You would learn really quickly, and I think that you'd probably be able to score pretty well in my car.
I feel the same. I think you put down a decent lap, too.
Yeah, I think you would be able. I don't think you could do this as good as I could, but then...
I think the same thing in the time attack.
I agree, and I totally agree. I don't think I could do a same lap as you in your own car.
And it's funny because I've been hanging out with time attack guys. I've been hanging out with wheel-to-wheel guys. So I raced the ASC in the Pirelli series, started in GT5, and in the same season finished in GT3. So they run a Le Mans styles classes. So GT1 and 2 run together, and then GT3, 4, 5 run together. So at one point I was the slowest of a class of 3, and then later in the season I was the fastest of the class of 3. So you're coming around after your warm-up lap and pace car leaves, and you get a green flag. You got like 35 plus cars of different speeds, literally, like you just said, within parking distance of you, and you're all just that feeling for me. Kind of it overpowered the feeling drifting gave me, and then like as soon as I got the taste of wheel to wheel again, I'm like, I still got my drift car. I was drifting last weekend 3 days in a row, but. Like for competitive side, like you said, I got that thirst for competition also, but I like going fast for a long period of time. What I found very difficult in competitive drifting, the small time that I did it, was I can be super hyped up, qualifying, top 16 or top 32, whatever it is, but then the downtime between Like
it's very difficult.
It's for me, like, I'm not gonna say I got this ADD, I'm running around, but my mind races. So I'm in the zone, I'm out of the zone. I'm in the zone. I can only do that so many times. So if I'm in the zone in a 30-lap race or a 40-minute race,
perfect.
I'm in the zone. Like, I'm locked.
Yeah.
But to do a 45-second run, Josiah, and then be off for an hour and a half, like, that bothered me. You know?
Yeah.
The in-between was more fun sometimes in the racing, like when I was drifting.
So what was the highest level? What competitions are you talking about? CSCS?
So CSCS was where I started. And then I remember when I first did the...
you tried to do FD.
I went to FD the first time. I made it to FD Canada when that was a thing. And it was actually now... So funny enough, the track that I hold my events at is Sunset Speedway. It's a NASCAR track here in Ontario. It's sanctioned by NASCAR. They have events every weekend. They have like 5,000 spectators every weekend.
It's a great track.
It's crazy. And so they had FD Canada there. And I built a 350Z, 5.3 turbo, 600 horse. It had all the fixings to let it hang. Went there. Practice was looking real good in practice, and then my turbo was actually lower than my oil pump. So the turbo drain wasn't draining. So literally after practice, my turbo seized, and the like it wouldn't even spin. Like, we took a filter off, it was just like stuck there. Mm-hmm. So I didn't even make it to qualifying, but the owner came over, started talking to me, anyways. I ended up seeing him later. I did some stunt driving for a movie, and he was somehow on set. He's like, "Oh, I remember you. You're the guy who screwed your car up or whatever."
Yeah.
And then that became a friendship. I started selling parts at his track, and now I have my events there. But, yeah, so I didn't quite make it to... I made it to FD Canada, but didn't. I went to DMCC with you, actually.
Yeah.
Went there that one time. But I'm just talking about local drift stuff. I didn't...
Yeah.
When it was competitive, like I said, you'd had to be in and out of
so
that
it's perspective,
mindset, right?
It's perspective. So your perspective coming in from wheel-to-wheel racing, those levels of competition are not going to do it for you.
No,
like,
but wheel-to-wheel now is a much higher level than I ever drifted at. Like, say drifting, competitive drifting, I was here. Wheel-to-wheel drifting, competitive level, I'm here. There's a lot more reputable drivers, a lot more... to gain when you're doing well in the wheel-to-wheel versus...
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. So if you were to... So I can't do, like, the little competitions and the things here. I don't get the adrenaline at all.
Of course,
like, almost zero.
Of course.
But when you get up to FD and then you get up to these 50K shootout that I was in, every practice lap is a full-blown battle.
Think of it
every
like
practice
this.
lap.
When you were local drifting competition, and we're living in Canada and Ontario here, but when we're drifting a section of a track that's not even a prestige track. When I'm time attack or wheel-to-wheel racing, I'm at Canada's prestige tracks. Mm-hmm. I'm going to U.S. like dope tracks. I'm going to places people want to see racing, not just a flat land that's got some turns. You know, that doesn't excite me either. If someone tells me there's a time attack event at my old local track, it doesn't excite. I don't even want to take the car out. Mm-hmm. Someone tells me there's a track day 8 hours away, but we're drifting Watkins Glen or something. Time attack Watkins. That's a different story. I'll be there.
Grid Life, Lime Rock.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to get at. So yeah, it's definitely a big
You've raised
factor.
your bar, and you can't really go back.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to get at.
And I mean, we've all gotten there, and that's why I find if you look at celebrities and stuff and how much money they have. That's why they find no enjoyment in life anymore.
Yeah, because they've had the max of everything.
Their perspective is too broad. It's too open.
Yeah.
And it's really important to keep that in check, actually, to, make sure that you're within your means and that you're not going to find yourself getting bored easily.
100%.
Because
that's the thing
dangerous.
About going fast, drifting, and this... I don't even want to have the debate, so after I say it, we'll move on. But drifting, you're getting judged, and when you're time attack or wheel-to-wheel, the fastest guy is going to win. So, like, I love just being fast. And there's always a guy faster, and there's always going to be someone. You're never going to be the best ultimately. But in that moment where you feel the best, is when there's a lot on the line. And that's why I like these kind of bigger events. Like this 370Z I'm building, yes, we're building it for Global Time Attack. Yes, we're building it for the Pirelli Series wheel-to-wheel racing. But I want to do a lot of bucket list things. Like I'm telling you, I'll say it here first, like that car will make it to Pikes Peak. That car will qualify here in Canada for a hill climb. Whether it takes me 3 years or 5 years, I'm going to do that. Like, there's no question about it. Anything else I've told myself, whether it be through racing or business or in personal life that I've wanted, I've done. And I've told myself this for a long time. And I remember saying to myself, one day I'm going to import cars from Japan. Now I'm bringing dozens in like it's nothing. So, I mean, I'm telling you this now, especially with your help on it. Like, and I don't just want to show up. I don't expect to win, but I definitely want to be a contender on these bigger scale events, right?
Otherwise.
No, I'm not doing it just to be there, but I'm also not, if I shoot for the stars and make it to the sky, if I shoot for the sky and make it to the stars, it just feels a little better, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So do you ever do something on a build like this and feel like there's things that you could have done better, but you just leave it the way it is?
So when we raced the Pirelli Series, I thought to myself, we need sponsors. I'm like, we can't run this series unless we have external money. So I put myself out there and I raised about $25K. And for a time attack car in that series, that's a pretty decent budget. But then I realized, some of the sponsors didn't have anything to do with cars. Some of the sponsors were a lot more hassle than they were beneficial. So, like, I got one sponsor sponsored, like, $7,000 or something, and I'm like, yeah, no problem. And then they wanted more and more and more. And it was like, you know what? I probably could have done without that and had less stress coming to events, seeing you, talking, treating them. Another event, taking them for laps. Like, is that even worth it? It wasn't. So, like, I think a lot of the stuff I thought I depended on other people, I think can be done on our own now.
So this is a relevant point from Matt Field, which this part was really cool. I went to FD. I was walking through the pits. I know who Matt Field is. I've known who he is for a long time.
Yeah.
He ran out of his pit, came up to me and said, like, nice to meet you. Your Corvette build is sick. The things that you're doing are amazing. We all love you.
Sick.
And then he went back into his pit.
Super nice guy, man. I met him at LS Fest years ago. Super nice, regular dude. He was pitted next to us, ripping the Falcon Corvette back then.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man. But like I said, it's like it's something where, you get a feeling and you run with it, but then you actually realize this has potential to be something, as big as what you thought it could be. That's why I'm trying to gear myself up for that, for the 370Z and the things that are coming along with it.
So he made a point where I was talking to him, like, who does your fuel, who does this, who does that, how do you keep everyone happy with deliverables? And, like, I'm trying to pick his brain for sponsors because
exactly.
I have like 19, and you're tagging them all on Instagram and you're making sure everyone's taken care of, and we are over delivering and doing our best for everybody. But the point that he made to me was there is a certain threshold with everything, and with this, it's he couldn't be bothered with deliverables for fuel. He knows that the cost of fuel per event is $500. He's just going to buy it. Like, he's like, you know what?
Exactly.
If I got to do this and do that and do this, he's like, I'm just buying it.
Exactly. And it's like, that's what happened to me. And it was like, okay, we need a livery. We need a title sponsor for the livery. And, like, the dumbest thing, we have the means, we could have printed our own livery, but I wanted it paid for. I knew we could get it, got the sponsor, and then that was like, it was a hassle because they're the name. You got to keep them happy. And at the end of it, I could have just had a car with a G on it. So at what cost?
So the value, you have to somehow determine what your value is.
Exactly.
And what you need to have in order for that stuff to make sense. So if you want to take guys for laps, dude, it's $1,000 a lap.
Oh, my God.
It's $1,000 a lap. Like, this is what we need.
People don't get it. And even drifting, man. I just had my event this past weekend, okay? So I hold an event a couple times a year at Sunset Speedway. You've been out to it. And it's like, everybody wants to go for a ride, and they don't realize not only the wear tear on the car, but the tires alone, man. You told me earlier you go for a test lap just to test and tune your own car. You're what, minimum $300 a lap?
Mm-hmm.
There you go, just to get a little feel for it.
Yeah, they don't understand. I'll take someone for $100, $200.
Right, but who's gonna pay that?
Well, someone might. Like my car definitely is like you won't be in something like that. So I mean, if they wanted to, but otherwise, I'm gonna take family members or something.
Exactly, I know.
Like I'm not gonna take if you're a random dude. You don't get to. I never got to experience a $300 ride for free. I never
did any ride along in my life. I don't think.
So I mean, if I had my S14 there and there's a seat in it, minimum $100 a lap. I hate to say it, and I don't expect you to pay for it. But I'm going to take the people that I'm friends with and that I know for free.
I know.
And if you're some guy that wants to know what these cars feel like and
you
what...
can pay for it. I know.
Exactly. And I don't feel bad saying that either because the stuff that we've done and the things that I've built, it's priceless, actually. There is no price tag that you can put on it.
If I knew... It's such a cliche, you know? If I knew then what I know now. But, like, both of us looking back, I would have never thought you would have a podcast. I'd be sitting here talking to you about the random stuff that we had to do to get here, you know? It's like, it's a very, even driving up here, it's like, what am I doing? I'm driving to my buddy's shop. We always exchange parts when I come by, but I mean, we got to film a podcast and talk about...
So people are genuinely interested in what we have to say.
I love that.
That's the thing.
I'm interested in a lot of different types of things, but I mean, like you said, I was never a podcast guy, and then you had said you're starting this like a little while back, and I'm like, you know what, I'll give him a shot, and I listened a bit to the Joe Rogan podcast, so obviously everybody does, but it is interesting, even if it's someone that you relatively know, you learn a lot about somebody just talking to them about nothing, you know?
Yeah, and I find that because we don't get a lot of opportunities to think critically about anything, we all become numb and dumb to reality. And my issue with that is we never get to go deep in your brain, sit there, and instead of saying or like and all those words that we used to fill in space, just be quiet and just think about a response that is meaningful and that you actually have an opinion on. And nobody does that anymore. I don't do it. We're constantly filling dead space with entertainment or videos or TikToks or Instagram, and it's a big problem because what I've argued with people on this podcast before actually is who would do better, who would win if we're going to compete. Somebody born in the 50s or 40s, or somebody born in the 90s or 2000s on an island with nothing. You guys got nothing. You got a pair of shorts on, let's say, that's it. And you got to do what you got to do with that. And I'm like, man, these guys had to tune their own carburetors. They had to fix everything. They had to do everything themselves. And now it's like we can't sit for more than a minute without being bored and looking at our phone, which we're all guilty of that, but I'm aware of it. So awareness is something that nobody is as well. I've met lots of people where their behavior and what they're saying and what they're doing and how annoying it may be or how dumb it might sound, I'm like, this person is not aware. Yeah. They're not aware of what they're doing.
It's funny because they have no idea how annoying they really are.
So if I use that as an example, I would say that they lack awareness, and I find that more and more and more people lack awareness. Luckily, I don't surround myself with them, so if you're listening and you know me, you're not one of them. But
I feel the same way.
It's one of those things. One of the most interesting things is when I have to travel, I sit in the airport and I just watch people.
Oh my! I just told you. So I went to. So today's Friday. I went to Vancouver on Wednesday night, and I came back Thursday, and I had to clear some cars. Some cars when we import from Japan, we send them to Vancouver. I clear the customs, put them on a truck. Yeah. They come to Toronto. So I went there, and I always show up early. I always. I'm pretty diligent with my flights, but I want to save my battery for the phone. I took a Porter flight to Vancouver, so that's a smaller airline here in Canada. But so I took a Porter flight. I'm like, oh, what if they don't have a USB? Let me save my phone. So I just put my phone in my pocket, and for like 2 hours, I'm watching this guy over here freak out on his phone. This guy over here, he's getting smashed at the bar. This girl over here is like breaking up with her boyfriend or something. Like, it's just, you can fulfill yourself with entertainment without looking at your phone.
Oh,
you know
dude,
what I mean?
I'm just
crazy.
like,
it's crazy.
What? Like, the one guy had his phone on speaker in the airport, talking to it as if none of us could hear it. He had headphones in, so obviously he was muted to his own sound a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, what? How is he that unaware? So we don't think of things like that for ourselves.
There was a guy at the airport. He was on his phone, and he was like, there's hysterically laughing, but he was laughing to the point I'm like, this guy is on shrooms. Like, he's on a psychedelic trip. How hard he's laughing, and then he stopped laughing and started talking normally, but that was just him laughing. And I honestly thought, I've seen a lot and met a lot of people. I thought he was on shrooms, man. Like, he was going crazy, and he was just laughing. But it was disrupting the entire gate. There was no reason for him to be that, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
he was either unaware or just didn't give a shit.
So it's unaware, and I mean, it's just more and more and more common that you meet people and see that this is
the best is when
reality.
you go to like a car meet or like a Cars and Coffee, and I haven't been to one of those in years, so I'm more referring to like when my car is at a track event and people are coming and talking around it, right? So we were just at FD, and I had my I have a 180SX street car. I drove it to FD. I put it in the Past Made car show there, and I was just kind of walking around in the background, and people are like talking about the car to their friends, and they couldn't be more wrong about the details that they were talking about, right?
Absolutely.
So like, my car is right there. It's right-hand drive. It says 180SX. Oh, this is a S14 240. First of all, wrong S chassis. Second of all, it's not a 240, but like, you know what I mean? Just like a genuine car guy at a car show, still not aware of what he's even saying, right? And
so this goes further into the point of, even in a professional setting, engineers and what we would call white hats in the production and manufacturing industry, these guys are supposed to know everything. Yeah. It's a white hat. They're walking around, you know, they're an engineer.
Sounds a little racist.
White hat, yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's the worst time to be a white straight male, and that's what most of them are. But it's besides the point. They really don't know what they're doing, and I've realized that that's a general realization. Most people don't know what they're doing.
It's funny, man, because like, it's a cliche when they say fake it till you make it, but then you meet people in the industry, and now, so I've been importing cars since 2016. Okay, I've been importing cars since 2016, and it doesn't sound long, but that's a long time, man. And I've done it wrong, and it cost me a lot, and I've done it right, and it's been easy. So now I'm doing these things, and like, I see my competitors in that realm, and it's almost giving me a bad name, because I'm noticing now people are more skeptical about me because of these people who don't know what they're doing, right? I get one guy. He's looking for a car. Asked me about it. I did like a few weeks of bidding, trying to win him the car, telling him this is like, showing him options. Anyways, he ends up buying the car from someone else, another JDM importer, whatever. Like, sometimes that's how it goes. But a couple weeks later, he calls me and he says, "Paul, you know, I can't get an ownership." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, this is the car came in a couple weeks later. Can't get ownership. I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, did you pay the guy?" "Yeah, like, everything is paid for, but I don't have an Ontario ownership." And I had to like kind of walk him through getting the Ontario ownership side. And super nice guy and everything, but like, to save a couple bucks, going with someone who doesn't really know, and then the next guy is like, "Oh, you know, were you the guy who couldn't get him the ownership?" I was like, "No, I'm the guy that got him the ownership. He referred you to me." So like, it's a chain of broken telephone. Yeah. And it's just like, we don't need that shit. Like, I don't need that. Don't even call me if you have any speculations of the performance I'll give you, or you know what I mean. People don't understand, like, to do a simple task, like import a car from Japan, and they want a clean car. If I'm not in Japan during that time, I have to pay somebody to go see it. I have to pay somebody to check it out. I have to stay up till 4 a.m. to get the photos. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a simple task, but then what they're missing, and what this is what everybody's missing. For you to do a 5-minute job in 5 minutes, you had to do it for 100 hours before.
But if they're paying for the service, I'll do it with a smile. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But if they question me on it, or like one thing I learned, and my wife told me this, and it was like, when we got into the thick of things and we're selling parts now, people would be coming to buy parts, and I'm still selling my product. Like, they're there, And I'm almost like so excited they're buying stuff that I'm still, and Rebecca was just like, you know what, Paul, you got to slow down. You've already sold the part. You're already done. You don't need to sell. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. But it wasn't only that. It wasn't only Grassroots that applied to. I was still running the import business, and that was a big risk. Like I was already risking a lot on the line with Grassroots, and then when I started importing cars, I had to buy the first few cars on my own dollar. I remember I was in Japan. I called my dad. I'm like, Dad, I'm at the auction. I just bought a car, but there's another car. Like, I know we're going to make money on it, man. Like, can you, like, and he's like, Paul, like, I can't. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, I thought you were in Europe. I'm like, what? Like, no, I'm in Japan. So I'm like, shit, like, okay, this isn't going to work. Call my brother-in-law. I'm like, yo, man, I'm in Japan, bro. I just bought this. Like, you know I've done it. He's like, all right, I got you. Flips me some cash. Got another Spec R Silvia. Brought it in for him. He sold it. He doubled. Like, it all worked out. But again, like I said, that was then. This is now. Now my dad's like, literally every time I see my dad, he's like, hey, Paul, in those Japanese auctions, do they got one of these vans? Like, now it's crazy how the tables have turned. But
you got to prove, like,
that's what I mean.
You had to prove yourself.
But
first.
This was back then. I'm talking since 2016, right? So, yeah, there's guys out there now who are trying to do what we do, and like they're not going to last.
So there's the saying with let's say a guy brings in his car, doesn't start, and he brings it to the mechanic shop, and then the mechanic taps on something and it fixes the whole problem, and it's running again, and he's good to go, and then he sends him a bill for $100, and the guy's like, "Wait a second, you only had the car for 2 seconds."
Yeah, man, you don't pay for the time.
But this is for real. This is for real. So when the guy says to him, "How can you charge me so much money? You only looked at the car for 2 minutes." He said, "It's $5 for the tap. It's $95 for knowing where to tap."
Exactly.
There's your bill.
That's
it's like, yeah, you could charge someone whatever you want, but if you don't know what you're doing.
The best part is like you just said, it's where to tap. And like the way I've structured Grassroots is we are literally for the Grassroots. I can't raise my price because a Grassroots drifter is not going to buy it. So I have to keep this level of quality and I guess like having it affordability for but with the cars, with importing cars, Josiah, I've come to a point now, I don't even put a percentage on the price of the car. The car could be $100,000. I'm going to make the same amount of money. I have a fixed price. You want me to do a job for you? I'll source it. I'll make sure the quality is. I'll go there and see it. I'll import it. I'll put in your name, ownership, everything.
What's
for
the fixed
one
price?
Fixed price.
$4,000 or something?
For you?
No, I'm not asking for me.
I gotta double it.
Yeah.
Everybody. So honestly, when I first started, man, my price was 2 G's. $2,000.
It's cheap.
I will go on the auctions. I'll source it. I'll import it.
And how fast can you do it?
So that's all depends on the guy, man. Like some guys, they want the first one that comes up, and they'll bid to the moon. Since I don't get a percentage, but I like to finesse it. Like I like to combine my shipping. The better if I can have a couple of customers work together. We ship cars together. Everybody saves, and it's easier for me, and I make more money. But if a guy wants it now, whatever. Like he's got to pay a little more. So what's my fee? It varies. Are you willing to work with me and wait? And I do 5 cars, 5 customers at the same time. Or if you want yours now individually, I got to go to Japan and see it because you're a stickler. Then it's a different story. But usually it's between, $3,000 and $4,000. But that's getting you exactly what you want. I'm there seeing it in person, and I'm giving you the keys with your name on the ownership, right? But sometimes I bring in cars for practically nothing. If I already got 5-6 cars coming in, everybody's saving. But people don't understand the clickety-clicks and tap-taps that I do on the computer or on the phone are worth way more than they'll save getting somebody who's doing it for a cheap price off the bat. You don't have to do anything, and you walk away with, an Ontario legit car. And there's horror stories out there, even in FD. At FD, I had 3 imports that I imported. And a guy came to me and starts talking my ear off. And I'm like, where's this guy going with this? And he literally runs a page on Facebook that's called I Got Screwed by a JDM Importer. And I'm like, I got to go check this out. I checked it out. It had like over 50,000 50,000 followers on it. So how many people are getting screwed by JDM importers outside of Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I've mentioned to you, we're starting to gear up, not only for Grassroots, but for Nakama Imports. We are aiming to have a facility in the U.S. I mean, I think logistically, we're importing cars into Canada that are available before U.S.
Yeah.
And we're bringing in quality cars, not junk.
So are you focusing on bringing in cars that meet our threshold and are close to meeting the U.S. threshold by their age?
So right now I'm sitting on like 599 S15s.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping
to reach the 25.
Next year they're going to be that.
So clarify what these regulations are for people that don't know.
So in Canada, we're a little less strict than U.S. So U.S. Is behind as far as the threshold of year that you can import a car. So, for example, we've had the Silvia available here for many years, whereas the Silvia is only available in the U.S. next year. Same with R34.
Mm-hmm.
Not even the GTR. The GTT legally is legal now. Next year, the GTR will be legal.
So 98, or sorry,
99 and 2000.
99.
So realistically, if we have these cars ready to go here now,
you're going to sell them.
That's what I mean. We're going to sell them. We can sell them here, but we have other cars we sell here.
But we've had Skylines for a while.
We've had Skylines.
We've had them for a while.
I know.
10 years. So it's kind of...
They've been around the block.
I think you're definitely in... Yeah, you can't really sell a Skyline that's been here for 10 years. It's got
to be a fresh...
Ruined.
Exactly.
It's been ruined by
Canada.
Canada.
Be a fresh import, ready to go. But that's what I do, man. Grade 3, grade 4, and turnkey, and you go. And that's a good thing about our shop. We used to do a lot of cooler installs, a lot of FDF installs, a lot of stuff to prep cars. But now we just ship parts. We import JDM cars. We get them roadworthy, and then we build our own race cars. So like, we're kind of in that super sweet spot, man.
For your, like, you're still in a business. You kind of have two types of businesses. The one is where dollar made, dollar paid. So you work for your money, and then you get paid for the time that you worked, and then there's no more money to be made.
Exactly.
Where in Grassroots and in the coolers, you've made the investment once, you pay a small fee per sale, but then you make money continuously after all. So my investment into making a mini Mantis kit for a Corvette was one time, 2.5 years ago. I spent 40 hours on it. I've never spent another hour on it since, but I've sold 500 of them.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So my 40-hour investment turned into, as the time goes on, I've made $1,000 an hour during that 40 hours, and then I made $2,000 an hour. It could be up to $10,000 per hour that I invested in that one product.
Exactly.
That's the business models that I go for. So unless you made your importation system exclude you, and then it started to work on its own, and you had the logistics figured.
I'm glad you brought that up, because Grassroots takes a team. It takes a village to run, just like FDF, right? I can't do Grassroots on my own. However, I can't do Nakama on my own either. But I mean, Nakama is more solely based on me. Like, I know what to look for when buying a car. I know the prices when buying a car. I know the trends and what this car will be worth by the time I get it in my hands. I can make those quick assessments, judgments without anybody's help. Versus Grassroots decisions, I gotta talk to an engineer. I gotta talk to a manufacturer. I gotta talk, so I love being super, super independent on the Nakama side, but I still rely on partners in Nakama too, because when they get here, I'm not turning any wrenches on it to make it 100%. I'm not changing this or that to make it
right, because you got to check them out.
You still gotta do your due. I'm not just gonna bring a car in, but I have had it, Josiah, where I bring a car in and literally just change the oil, man, and it's out the door. Like, when you buy a good car, you get a good car, and that's what I try and tell my customers. You want a cheap car, you're gonna get a bill from Grassroots for making it a better car. If you buy a better car right away, you put some oil and gas in it, and you turn the key and drive home. So it's just like, whatever you put in is what you get out. Same with money, man. I tell everybody, you want to play, you got to pay, and that's the way it goes.
Not a bad little setup, eh?
No, man, this is...
So I should say this on the podcast. I think I heard it somewhere. I'll try and say the statistics correctly. Most podcasts fail I think it's like 95% of podcasts don't reach 20 episodes. So almost all podcasts fail.
Why?
Don't know. It's a statistic.
Just because they stop recording podcasts?
Yeah, I don't make it up. So if you do 21 episodes, you're in the 5 percentile of all podcasts that have ever existed.
Really?
Think about that.
Oh, that's so easy, man.
Is it? I'm 5 in. I can't. It's hard to find the time.
Do you have 20 friends is the question.
Yeah, so I've already had multiple cancellations. I've been too busy. They've been too busy. It's hard to make it happen.
It is.
And then, like a lot of people want to do it, but then they get scared to do it. And
what would they be scared of? Listen, the best moments of my entire life are the scariest moments of my entire life. I swear to God, I've never said that, but
most
like,
people don't know that.
But literally, what I swear, like, you can go as the most awkward moments have been the best moments of my life. You're in a situation, you want something, or you need something, or you're just acting selfish, and then you get it just because you wanted it and did it. Is the crazy, like, you wanted a podcast and you did it and now you got it. And all you got to do is make 21 episodes.
So I come up with the name, I come up with everything, and people think it's stupid and people think that's dumb. And I built this room. But who are these
people? Yeah, who?
Exactly. Well, I built this room during COVID. And even people that were close to me would shoot me down in posting inspirational style reels where they would laugh at it.
Oh my. I love that. Dude, I swear to God, I'm a especially going to Japan and back, my biological clock is like, that's something females say. But my internal clock, I should have said. Okay? I'm an early riser, man. Like if I wake up at 5, I don't go back to bed for an hour.
Yeah.
Like 6 is like a threshold, and just because of like the area I live in and like.
Yeah, construction. I've been there.
You know what I mean? Like, I live in a very dense industrial area, so everyone's up already. So like, if I'm getting up any later than that, I feel like I've lost.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I'll either go for a bike ride, or do some internet stuff, or like my biggest. And this is gonna sound so stupid, but like, what I find relaxing is going on Jegs or Summit. or just any website that I want parts and just putting together a cart.
Oh yeah.
And then like I look at my Shopify statistics of like carts that aren't checked out, and I'm like, fuck, that's me. I'm doing that literally on these other websites. But yeah, man, I'm up early and I feel like I got to get something done, or I got to do something for myself to be better. But what were we even talking about?
So the people that looked at my Instagram reels, friends of mine.
Oh, the motivation thing. Sorry, before you even start. I will find myself on my phone at 6 a.m. and see a motivational thing, and I'll be like, yeah, today I'm going to do that.
Right.
And like, you've done that. And then I've made posts like that too. And then I've gotten messages.
You feel silly making them.
Okay, but I'm sure you have also. You don't expect it.
Tons of messages.
But you get messages saying, thanks, man. I needed that today. And it's like, what?
Yeah, you feel really dumb doing it at first. And then it scares most people away from ever doing it again. Yeah. So I had a couple people that were super close to me that would actually like laugh at them, or they would think they're funny. But then you really need to look at, like, so first of all, they're not realizing that that's probably going to make you feel bad about what you're doing, so they don't take that in consideration. So let's put that aside.
Yeah.
Let's put that aside, and then let's look at the individual of themselves that's making it. I think ultimately it's probably a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of they wish or they want to do the same thing, but they never will or they won't.
That's the most of it right there, what you just said.
When you take all those things into consideration and you look at the person and what their life entails as a whole, I think ultimately it's just a form of self-reassurance, or it's a defense mechanism for themselves that it's okay that they aren't doing what you're doing. Because
they think it's dumb and it's not going to work. That's why they're not doing it. Meanwhile, you're going to do it and you're going to make it work.
Yeah, so I do it anyways, and I honestly would have never done one again if I didn't get any kind of positive feedback. But I've gotten the DMs, the messages, and the people saying, like, because you said that, I'm now doing this, and I just wanted to let you know. And it's like,
it's
if you,
crazy, man.
So the definition of greatness is technically the ability to inspire the person beside you, and that's it.
Yo, literally, I was walking through a park in Vancouver, man, and there's this old dude just playing the accordion, and you know, and it was like, I wasn't gonna give him money, but just I wanted to just tell him that you're a freaking awesome musician, you know, and that was just saying that was like enough of a head nod, enough that was like. That was equal amount of me flipping him a toonie, you know what I mean? Like telling him he's an awesome musician and just sitting there. And sometimes that's all you need for 6 months of motivation off of a 2-second interaction.
He may have gone tomorrow because you said that today. And if you didn't say that today, maybe he never would have gone back to the park again. That's what I'm saying. Like, so it's literally that being... as long as you can realize that, and also just don't regret doing something that makes you feel silly. So I had an idea yesterday, and I made a reel of a point of view position, or I have the camera. I actually clipped it to my shirt like this. Yeah. And then
with your long ass legs getting in your car?
Dude, yeah.
I saw that one.
That was the video. So I said to Jack, I'm like, this is my idea. This is what I want to do. And I'm like, I think I can do an entire series of reels where I take the wheel off and I have the POV. And then I open the thing and I have a POV and I do this, and I'm like, I can just do a bunch of POVs of this car because everyone wants to see things on this car. And I'm like, I have this crazy idea. Then I actually go to do it. My employees are watching. I have my phone clipped here. My beard hair was in the camera, so I have my chin behind the phone. So I look ridiculous. Yeah. And then I'm walking, but it doesn't look as good if your arms aren't in the camera. So then I swung my arms. I
saw you doing
and that. And then I'm thinking to myself, I look like an idiot. But then I watched it. I'm like, Jack, what do you think of this? Non-biased. Check it out. Yeah. You know I didn't just do it. You just saw it. He's like, I don't know, man. Like, if you think it's cool, just post it. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I don't want it to be bad. Like, I don't want someone to think it looks stupid. And he's like, who cares? So that's also the mentality that you have to have. Man. I just don't care. And I posted it. It did pretty good.
If there's one piece of advice that anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur or a race car driver or make anything more of themselves than they think, that it's literally the confidence to be yourself, because it's such a cliche, man.
It's hard, man.
But no one's going to be better at being you than you. And you can say the dumbest and record the stupidest and have the awesomest or lamest podcast, but still that's what you want to do, and no one's going to stop you. When you let people or like your surrounding factors stop you, it's the most limiting thing in the world. Like it's like someone on your tune just locking you at 5,000 RPM. It's like, why wouldn't you not unlock the power that you have with a couple more clicks, you know? Mm-hmm. But
I feel like everybody's debilitated. Everybody's in that null. Everyone, even we are. So we're living above what the norm is, but there's still more to be had. And when I say that to people, they think it's weird that I'm saying that because I've already done so many things and I'm already so busy. I'm like, you don't understand. There's more, and I keep feeling like there's a sense of urgency to do these things that I can't explain to you. You don't understand. And then we'll argue about it, and I'll say to them like, I feel like I'm not doing enough. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to tackle that. I want to create this website. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, you're doing so much. I'm like, no, I'm not. Man, I'm not doing enough.
I was in your team meeting today, and like, we have our own meetings, and like, we discuss things that haven't been done, but we discuss things that we want to get done. And it's like, my own partners and employees will say to me, Paul, you haven't even finished the last thing, man. You're already talking about the new thing. And I'm like, yeah, someone get on and finish the last thing, because my job is to move on to the new thing. But yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. If we don't pump the brakes ourselves, no one will for us. And like, it's not easy, man. And at the end of the day, you can't limit yourself to people's expectations. And I think that's kind of what we're talking about. But at the same time, I don't fully remember. We're getting pretty into this.
The expectations of other people would be that you're not going to
exactly. Your podcast, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, they're not
people saying or making fun of it, but I've had the most fun today just talking here than I've had probably in the last like month, being at work.
I appreciate that.
You know? Cheers, man.
Cheers to that, because I've also thought the same thing when it comes to talking to somebody about basically everything, but going to a level that You just don't get there with any kind of normal conversation with anybody. Like, if I see you at the track, we're not talking about this. Like, there's no way that you can do that.
But the sickest thing about our relationship is that, you didn't start much longer after I started Grassroots. And then, like, we hopped on a plane. We went to U.S. We both got distributors. Right. We both kind of zeroed in. And then, not that we had a hiatus, but, like, we both literally, like, put our blinders on, put our heads down, hustled, and then we both, like, popped our heads up and we're like, yo, how you doing?
Yo, what's up?
Yo, I'm doing good, man. And then it was like a whole other feeling, and, like, I'm getting a feeling talking about it, because it's hard to grow up with people who are like-minded like that, because, dude, I'm Italian. My whole family's in construction. I have a degree in architecture. I was a project manager for 5 years. And I saved up enough money to either buy a house or a property and start my own construction company, or go overseas, buy cars, buy parts, and try this thing. And, like, nobody understood. Like, when my parents were even, like, trying to tell my family what I'm doing, I'm like, you're not even explaining what I'm doing. Like, that's not even what I'm doing. But not many people could relate, man. And you can, which is nice. And now we haven't been on the same track together in so long. You already have a full schedule for this season, but when is your...
I want to go to Sunset Speedway with one of my cars.
Dude,
I just want to go back, man. Because...
you have to come out there. That track, it's because of the sound. It's because of... You go to any track, and they get to see one section of the track. This NASCAR track, they're watching the whole thing. So I did a halftime show at the NASCAR event the day before mine. And, like, some of these NASCAR fans have never seen drifting, Josiah. Like, they've heard of it, but they've never seen it. They were cheering more for me doing some skids around the track than they were for, like, the NASCAR race that was just happening. It was a crazy feeling, man.
I want to go back there because it's been 2019 or 2020, whenever the last Drift Jam was, which I was in my S14 when it was, like, new.
Okay.
So I've been in that car for 3 years now. It was before FD.
It was before, but I thought you had your S13 there. I remember that.
Oh, yeah, I had the S13 there as well. And that's, I stoved it in the wall.
Yeah, you fucked something up.
So...
Can we swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I wanted to...
Fuck you.
I wanted to go back there because as a driver, I'm so much better.
Dude, that track is sick to drive, man.
But if you, like, I remember trying to figure out how to run the bank at the top, but the car would always dip down, then go back up. I could do it like that now. Like, you should have seen me. Oh, yeah. Like, running banks.
What FD track would have a comparable degrees? What
Orlando.
FD? Orlando has a big... Urbandale has a pretty decent bank.
Urbandale's bank is bigger.
Bigger than Sunset?
Yeah.
Sunset's pretty big.
Sunset's steep, but it's not big. So Urbandale's is...
it's big and long.
What's the... They have a...
The way we like it.
What's the length of Sunset?
It's 3/4 mile.
Yeah, so Irwindale's bank, and it's bigger. It's bigger,
still
for
fun,
sure.
Though.
I remember going, like, Irwindale's entry speed is, like, mid-90s miles an hour.
That's not bad.
And then off the bank, you go through the inner clip, close to 100 miles an hour, and then you enter into another smaller bank.
That's fast.
So... Are
your speeds comparable to pro? Like, is Pro Spec?
I don't do Pro Spec. So I run... No, I did Pro Spec in 2021.
No, but I'm saying, at the same track?
They're like 5 to 8 miles an hour slower.
Oh, that's not much at
all. No, they're very close. Like,
is that just tire size?
So a lot of the pro guys were dumbfounded because they had Pro Spec guys going up into pro, and they kept the same tire. The same Pro Spec tire because they were comfortable on that tire.
Oh, shit.
And they were running with the pros, no problem. No problem. It was crazy. They were talking about it on the FD podcast because they're running so close to what pros are doing. Yeah. And the cars in Pro Spec are still 800 to 1,000. Yeah. That's the norm. So, yeah, like the entry speed, I think the fastest track last year was Utah. 106 miles an hour was the fastest entry, and I think it was Tanofa. And Pro Spec was all like 98.
Okay.
So it's very close. Like, there's really not a whole lot of difference.
Why do you hate Boost?
I don't hate Boost. So
every car you build is NA. I love NA. Dude, I wheel-to-wheel raced an NA V8 for the first time. I've always been Boost. And, dude, the whole season was gas and oil. That's all I did the whole season. I never had to change a gasket. a manifold, a turbo.
Yeah, so for me,
Why are you doing it?
the NA setups, the sound of them, it doesn't sound like the normal LS. So an LS sounds like a boat, and then if you boost it, it still sounds like a boat, and I hate that. So I always wanted to build a nasty NA V8. That's what I like.
Yeah.
But they're way more expensive to do.
They are.
Your rotating assembly is triple the price, and your heads have to be incredible heads because it's all about airflow. You're not pushing air into the engine; you're sucking it in.
Air, yeah.
So but then when you open my hood, you're like, wow, this thing must be easy to work on.
It is.
Easy to keep the heat down. It's lightweight. There's no intercooler piping. There's no cooler. There's no anything. So simplicity-wise, like, man, I got 2 belts. One goes this way to the dry sump. One goes this way to the alternator.
That's sick.
I've never touched the belts in years, man. Like that, I just give her a little twist, make sure it's still tight. I'm done. Like when you look at the guys like Naren was beside me at the last shootout, and he's got a supercharger, and he's got the air to water cooler, and he's got the coolant lines going into that, and he's got this, and he's got that, and he had all these issues. And there was and he's running that car for years. They should have it all figured out, but you still, even if you know everything, you still run into problems. And the belt serpentine on that thing, man. I'm like, dude, you're making a ton of power. Like, don't get me wrong, car to car, that one's working perfect, mine's working perfect. He's got the advantage. I give it to him. But then at the same time, I'm over here relaxing.
Exactly.
Taking a break.
I know. And you're
getting
working
a drink,
on the car.
Walking. The car just works all the time, and it makes 700 horsepower. It's lots. I actually lost because it didn't make enough power with the grip level that I was running.
Really?
We're not going to talk about that. But
seems like that upsets you.
Yeah, it does. Because it was a mistake, and I should have done something to. But that car, that S14 makes a ton of horsepower. Like that
S14's rips, man. Like that car.
Yeah, that car.
I would love to have that power plant, but the thing is, aerodynamics. You got a big square in the hood, right?
Oh, you don't need to run that engine with that intake.
So, but is it? So does K&N make an intake for LS ITB?
Yeah, because they're running ITB K&N filters on the RTR cars, so they must.
But for time attack, and streamline and aero, obviously having through the hood, that's not efficient, right?
Yeah, it's not efficient having the filter there, but then you're also ramming air into the filter. So I mean, the engine is what's moving the car, and if you're forcing it with a little reduction in flow for ramming it into the engine, I think you're going to be all right.
I know, and that was the toughest decision for our time attack car. We had a lot of success.
I think your aero is going to be the most important thing, based off of Joel.
We spent the aero, but we still, all the time attack guys that we're up against in the limited class are 650 plus horsepower.
Yeah, so my engine would do incredibly well in a time attack car.
We're just going to be at the cusp of 650 with a supercharged 6-liter. So it's the one
so
season.
So for us
engine.
is like 1500 twin turbo.
Yeah, but he's unlimited.
Yes.
I'm running limited.
So you have to be under a certain horsepower?
No, you have a tire. So
you're saying the horsepower would be useless at
correct
at that amount of
given
tire.
The research that we've done, 650 to 750 is like our max if we're running limited.
Like all you need to do is put the same supercharger on a 427 instead of a 6-liter, and you would have 800 instead of 650. Dude, Summit Racing, 23,850 horsepower, done.
Yo, I go on the website last night. I bet you if I pull my phone out, it has Jegs LS
the drop-in
ready to go
850
because I'm always looking at it.
Belts.
I'm always putting it in my cart. And one day,
it even has an AC compressor.
One day, I'm gonna drink a little too much of this Nika whiskey and just buy it because it's just right there.
427
and it's in stock. Ships to
supercharger.
When it says ships tomorrow or ships today, it's just like fuck.
Yeah.
Give me that shit.
Just buy it.
I know, man.
Sell one of your things.
I know. That's what Rebecca says too. She's like, "Oh, you want a cool engine? Just sell your car." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's like, I could sell a car for $25,000 and buy a
drop in
engine.
Blueprinted dyno 850, 850. Drop it in, win."
So my end goal next year, I want to have a motor like that with a DCT. I think that's the way of the future for if you're not gonna go sequential or dog box. DCT, programmable, LS, NA, 800 horse. Like that's a weapon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And DCT now, they're making it, all the technology is coming up to make it incorporated with your management and with your, like it's becoming a lot more easy. We have a 135, we're doing supercharged LS with a DCT. That's going to be the guinea pig. And then 2025 will be DCT, hopefully just a Jegs off the shelf 800 horse motor.
Okay, so last question. All right. How do you manage stress?
How do I manage stress?
Any way that you manage it, drop it on the table.
Drugs and alcohol. I'm kidding. Some of that's kidding. No, honestly, I still like to make time to have a good time. Like, for example, when I say alcohol, that last weekend, I didn't drink Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but I had track events the whole time leading up to my event. Sunday, my event, super professional, awesome day. But then I invited a whole bunch of the guys back to my cottage, and we all got to have a beer together and have a good time. So I still like to incorporate some of my old ways of, like, track days. Like, back in the day, man, I'd have a track day, we'd go to the shop, and we're barbecuing till, like, 3 a.m, just talking about the track day we just had. And after Grassroots started, it was like, you get home from a track day, you unload, you go home, you unwind. You don't really have that. But now I'm kind of stepping back into trying to enjoy myself while racing or while working. So I bought a new barbecue for the shop. Once a week we have barbecues. Once a week we go for lunch. And then we have a full jam-packed summer of racing. So
do you ever reach a point in a day or in a week where you get a bunch of anxiety?
Oh, you're super stressed? Today I had to work. Before I came here, I had some work I had to do. And I'm like, I thought I was on top of it. And while I'm doing it, I'm getting phone calls. And then while I'm getting the calls, I'm getting emails. And then, like, your private life, wife calls you or mom
doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, and it just expects, a reaction from you. And you just got to be the best version of yourself when you're, like, in the worst place. And I think dealing with that takes a certain type of human, man, a certain type of soul. Because if you can't do that, then don't be in this game, man.
If you can't live in chaos, like, I could see you as somebody where, let's say your car blows up, you're like, we'll deal with it. Like, we'll figure it out.
Dude, if my car blows up, I'll go get another one from the garage.
No, like, I mean, like somebody blew it up. Like, a bomb went off.
Oh, a bomb went off?
Let's say that. And
I'd say, holy shit, I got a cool story, man. My car got exploded.
So just like you and just like me, honestly, I'd just be like, you know what? We're going to figure out how do we fix this? What's the solution? How did it happen? But at the end of the day, I don't care.
No, man.
But
I honestly feel like it takes someone, and this is why, like, you and I can not talk, and then we can talk. We can talk about business. We can talk about BS. But I just genuinely like talking to people that believe in themselves, believe in others, and when shit hits the fan, and everyone relies on you, you still deliver. And it's like, there's no other way. You're going to deliver. Whether you're stressed out or not, you're going to deliver. And then, like you just asked, how do I deal with that stress? I tell myself, after this 3-day work weekend of entertaining, talking, ride-alongs, tires, this, that, I'm going to relax. I'm going to have an ice cream cake and a 2-4 waiting. But I got to do all this first. And I just give myself something to look forward to. And I always end up reaching it. And that's how I relax now, man. Give myself a goal, I accomplish that goal, and I reward myself.
Man, if I had to go to battle, war, combat with somebody, and they're like, you got to pick 1 or 2 guys, let's say they got to pick 2, I wouldn't be looking for, like, all right, who's the best fighter? Who's the best this? Who's the best? I'd be like, who's an entrepreneur? Because when shit hits the fan, you said, I know these guys are going to be like, it's fine. We're still going to maintain a level head. We're still going to perform. We're still going to do this.
Right,
like,
man.
Guys like you, my brother. I
appreciate you saying that, bro.
I'm like, we can't. I understand this guy's more skilled in combat, but he may not be able to handle the pressure of when
maybe I
you
don't
need to make a decision.
Knife, but I can use it really well. That's what you got to say.
Well,
right?
Maybe I can't, but I can keep a level head. I could keep quiet if I need to. I could be running and focused on what I have to do. Exactly, I can, under pressure, if I need to assemble something to do something, I'll be able to do it without shaking hands.
But that's why I'm here, man. I wouldn't be here talking to you about nothing if I didn't realize this isn't something that is in our control, man. What we're doing right now, we're putting it out there, and something's gonna happen from it that we can't even predict. Like this podcast, your campaign, my campaign. In 2 years from now, 1 year from now, 6 months from now, we're gonna be at a different place, and we're gonna want to talk about it more. So, I hope you have me back, man. But this has been a freaking stoke experience, and I'm very happy you called me up.
I also like to add that if I'm going to be talking with people and have a relationship with them, I kind of gauge how well that's going to go based on how long we can not text each other, and then how normal it is when we text each other. Man. Like, we'll go 6 months, right?
Dude, what? I won't even text you, and then we won't even say hello. It'll just be like, hey, by the way, do you have this? And it'll be like,
but that's the relationship.
Yeah,
that's how it is with Duarte. That's how it is with other guys who deal with this stuff all the time.
Daily.
We're just right to the point. Like, I don't need any of this. I don't like him because man, I'll ignore you, and you're not going to take it personally.
I won't take you. Are you ignoring me? Because I never felt that you ignored me.
No, man. So the difference would be I'm not sitting on a couch reading your message and saying, no, I'm not going to reply to that. I literally I don't know what happens. We just stopped talking.
The only time I wanted you to text me back was when I said, do you have ice for the whiskey?
Oh.
And you did. You're like, yeah, I got 2 trays.
Nice.
But yeah, man, we're all good, man. I'm super excited to both of what we have in the next coming year. I can't wait to see your vet back on the freaking track, man. Like, the day you are going out for testing, I'm just going to come and watch because you texted me.
Maybe the second time. Maybe the second day.
Whatever. You texted me and you're like, Paul, some shit went down, man. I'm like, uh-oh. You don't really text me for something like that, but no, man. You get through it, and like I said, nothing you go through doesn't make you better. And I bet you that engine's going to be 10 times better now.
Well, it's going to have a couple more things of due diligence that may have been overlooked. And that's, unfortunately, when you go to school and university, you got to pay to learn a bunch of things.
100%.
But we pay in a different way. We pay in mistakes. And these mistakes teach us a lesson that's so much greater than what you could get from school. It sticks. It makes you improve. It forces you to improve.
The best part is we both went to school. We both got our degrees. Yet we're still learning that outside of school.
They don't teach you this stuff. Like, if I'm to do something and then I do it wrong.
How do they not teach, like, typical problem solving? Like, or even paying bills, or, like, the most easy stuff. They don't set anybody up to be.
They almost need to create problems within the class that you're unaware that it's happening, but you're forced to solve it, and then you're graded after.
Let's start a racing school.
Yeah, you can't be aware.
You know what the craziest thing is, and I know we're on short for time now, but dude, I remember growing up, and my parents told me, they said, Paul, like, if you get good grades, you can go to any university that you want. I'm like, okay, like, all I gotta do is do good, and I can be whatever I want. You know, you're a kid growing up. I wanted to be a cop or something stupid like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I wanted to be like a race car driver or like shop owner or this or that. So I got the grades, and there was a school in the U.S., and it was a 4-year program, but it taught you like mechanics, body shop, entrepreneurial, business, like how to run a genuine shop. And I remember going to my parents saying, listen, this is the school I want to go to. And they're like, oh, like they didn't expect that, right? They expected following the European WAP, whatever you want to call it, construction, start, whatever. My dad's got a business, his dad had a business. But then they're like, oh, how about, you do this for a couple years, and if you still want to do that, you can go to it. And like literally, the opportunity, imagine we had done this, bro, from all those years before. Instead of, you went to school, you're implementing what you use at school in your daily business now. But for me, I went to school to build homes as a project manager. I as much as I'm project managing, nothing what I learned there is really being used.
Yeah, it's not applicable.
It's all my own, genuine. So had I done that, like if you want to do something, basically what I'm saying to our listeners is if you want to do something and you genuinely are passionate about it, like, don't let anybody pump the brakes on you, because Josiah and myself are examples, man. I'm so happy that we're here.
So everyone remembers that Michael Jordan won 6 NBA rings. He has the most in a row.
Who would forget that?
But he has 13 that he didn't get. 13 seasons that he didn't get. Right? He didn't win 13 times, but he won 6. So you have to keep that into perspective. The best player in the world lost more than he won.
Yeah.
And how many shots did he miss? Probably thousands of shots.
Oh, yeah.
How many game-winning shots did he miss? How many did he make? I think he made like 40 game-winning shots. Amazing. That's like, how could somebody make so many buzzer shots?
Yeah.
But then he goes in to talk about how many he missed. You're like, what? You missed that many?
I know.
Like, you're like, you suck. Like, if you just talked
if
about
you look at the statistics, yeah.
But in order for him to have made 42, he had to take 300.
Well, it's just like Wayne Gretzky says. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So if you don't even try, then it wasn't worth doing it.
Listen, you're going to fail. You're going to fail miserably. You're going to fail to the point where
I remember buying a round of inventory with my own personal money, and I had $20 cash, and I saved that $20. I still have that bill on my desk in a little like frame thing. It's on my work desk, and it was the last $20 I had to my name while running Grassroots. I had no money, and I just bought like, we're talking like, this was when I was getting serious. I bought thousands, like a hefty amount of inventory, but the company didn't have it. I had it, and it was like my family, everybody except my wife was like, what are you doing? Like, why wouldn't you buy a house? Why wouldn't you put a deposit? Why wouldn't you, and I bought all these parts, and I literally had $20, and then like 4 months later, man, I was like sold out, and it was like doubled. It was like, for me, I knew that was gonna happen, but in that moment, I didn't know that was gonna happen, man. I wanted it to happen, and it's like, you know what? That's the leap, man. And if you can take it, just fucking do it.
All right, well, that's a fantastic note to end on.
Awesome,
Definitely be pulling some reels from the end of this.
Sick.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll have another episode up in another 2 weeks with
Sweet.
I don't know who. That's the beauty of it. I know enough guys that I know I'll get somebody. So this was Paul, owner of Grassroots and many other things.
Thank you.
Been friends for a while, and
Yes,
I'll
sir.
see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you, man.